we know it's kind of blurry, so to speak. I mean, after Wong Fei Hung, I would say, or before Wong Fei Hung, it starts to get blurry, I think. So there's the informations that we have from that time, I would say, are mostly by word. Some stuff is written, but as we know, not everything that is written has to be true or exactly on point, right? What's your take on this?
I divide the Hungkin history into 3 different phases. The first one is legendary founders, which means Southern Siulam Temple, Southern Shaolin Monastery, then the legendary founder, the abbot of Southern Shaolin Chisin Semsi, his students Hung Hei Kun, Luke Ah Choi. So this is the legendary phase, legend. So we don't know much about it. We have lots of stories. It really doesn't matter if the stories are true or not. What is important is the message that they are sending to us. Both the stories about legendary heroes from the Southern Shaolin, as well as, let's say, the famous Hung Hei Kun meeting Fong Wing Chun lady, the third lady of Wing Chun, and establishing the Tiger Crane system. So the message behind the stories is actually more important and more real than if it is a real history. So this is the first phase. Then we have 3 generations of Wang family: Wang Tai, Wang Keiying, and Wang Fei Hung. We don't know much about Wang Tai. We do have some records about Wang Tai and Wang Fei Hung, of course, probably the most famous figure of our system. And in the same era, I would put as well Tit Kiu Sam, the Iron Bridge 3, and his student Lam Fuk Sing, who eventually taught Wang Fei Hung. So this is a second phase. And that's a dividing line between so-called old Hungkin and new Hungkin, because Wang Fei Hung style, because of his cross-training, both with Lam Fuk Sing and other teachers. He studied with Wang Yan Lam, Hapkin, and now we have it 100% confirmed, not only from the Hapkin sources, but from the Hungkin sources, from Ji Yuk Jai, from Lam Sai Wing's students. So he cross-trained with Wang Yan Lam of the Hapkin style. And since that times, we have a new Hungkin, which is combination of old Hungkin, short bridges, narrow stances, infighting, close range fighting, and long bridges, very agile footwork and long-reaching side body techniques. So that's the second phase. So we have the legendary founders, then the Wang family, plus the lineage of Tit Kiu Sam, which is very important part of our heritage. And then we have the modern masters, which is basically students of Wang Fei Hung and their students. For example, my lineage, Lam Sai Wing, my grandmaster Lam Zhou, and my Sifu Lam Chan Sing. So we know way more about these times.
Yes.
So
yes.
this is my take. 3 phases: the legends, then a little bit more, still legends, but a little bit more history, and then history basically, and our times.
Right. So if we go to the first phase, so we have, let's say we have Hung Hei Gun and we have Luka Choi. Somehow I hear more about Hung Hei Gun than, for example, there's this Chinese documentary. I think you shared that on your channel, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And if you watch that documentary, it's been a while since I've watched this, but I remember they tried to find the old grave or something, or the remains of a grave from Hung Hei Gun. But really, they didn't really find anything, I mean, that really, I would say it's legit, where you could say that's the grave of Hung Hei Gun, right?
So right now, we can really say with certainty that Hung Hei Gun existed. My brother, you know, he lived in China for about 7 or 8 years.
Right,
and he studied Old Hongkuen with a Sifu named Zhao Sifu. And his lineage was Lao Dan Ho Hongkuen, as well as Hung Hei Gon's Hongkuen. And he did a lot of research. He spent insane amount of money of purchasing different old documents, such as, you know, written chronicles and sources. So right now we can say with 100% certainty that such a person existed. There are some records in Qing chronicles that a man named Hung Hei Gon killed a man with one strike. So it's not a legend anymore, but we just don't know how to connect him with the martial arts BoFaat stories of, let's say, you know, the famous era of 1930s stories about Siulam Temple, the disciples of Siulam Temple. So same applies, let's say, to the triad societies, right? So we have a, let's say, martial arts and pulp fiction, basically stories about our ancestors, such as Hung Hei Gon, and then we have the official records, and they are kind of different. Kind of way different, but we can say that Hung Hei Gon actually existed, and in southern China there are many lineages that pay respect to Hung Hei Gon as their founder. Our mutual friend David Roger Sifu, he's a student of Tang family Hongkuen. Different from Tang Fong. This is a lineage of Tang Jiangkong Sifu, his father, Tang Long, his grandfather, and their lineage goes way back, all the way back to Hung Hei Gon. And it is exactly the old Hongkuen that we see very often in southern China, sets such as a Zhongda Kun, emphasizing the till, peck, and then strike. So more interesting is because, as you know, our lineage basically goes back to Lukachoy, right? So I always wondered why we are actually called Hongkuen if there is not much connection with Hung Hei Gon. According my research, what the stories say is that both of them were students of Chisin Simsi, the abbot of southern Siulam Temple, the venerable master, great kindness or extreme kindness, and they both of them studied in the southern Shaolin Temple. If it existed or not, I don't know. Not important. The story is important. And after the southern Shaolin was burned down, they escaped, they scattered, and they later reconnected. So Hung Hei Gon probably haven't seen Chisin Simsi after the destruction of southern Shaolin Temple, but Luke Ah Choi studied with Chisin in Hoitung Monastery in Canton, and he reconnected with his senior Kung Fu brother Hung Hei Gon and trained with his Sihing as well. And our style, there are many theories why it is called Hongkuen. Of course, Hung Hei Gon as being the founder, he was teaching in different monasteries, in the Big Buddha Monastery, Hoitung Monastery, other monasteries. But also another theory says that it was a southern Shaolin style practiced by the Hung Mun, the Hung League, the original, the historical Chinese triad, the pro-Ming patriots. So that's another reason why we are called Hongkuen. And I have found a great, basically, oath of the old Hung Mun Society members when they were accepted into the secret society. The master asks, where did you study martial arts? And the disciple answers, my style comes from the Shaolin Temple. The master asks, what style did you studied as first? And the disciple says, Hongkuen was my first style. And master asks, do you have any proof? And the student says, my fists are the proof. So it was a kind of a Hung Mun ritual when they were accepted into the secret society. And I think there is definitely something about it.
Yeah, very interesting. I mean, this style was, you can say it developed in a time when the Hung Moon was very active, right? I mean, so also the name Hung Kun, I mean, first so I have been told it was just called Siu Lam Kun, but later converted to Hung Kun. After it was.
If you remember my Sikong Lam Zhou on his name card was actually Siu Lam Kun Set, which means like Shaolin boxing, right? Not Hung Kun. The name became. I personally think that it was already called Hung Kun back in the old days, and we have some proof for that. But they didn't attach the meaning to the names of the styles as much as we do. So not that much branding, not that much marketing. So whenever they ask what style do you do, they say, oh, Siu Lam Kun, right? Shaolin boxing, or Hung Kun, the style of the Hung Moon association of the Hung Lake, right? And the name Hung Kun became very popular in 1950s, I would say. If you read the old books written by Lam Sai Wing's student, Ju Jai, it also says Siu Lam Kun Set, Shaolin boxing art. And Hung Kun is mentioned there on a couple of occasions, usually with the 3 extensions. Sam Chin Hung Kun and the Ting Gam Kyo, right? And basically, when I asked my grandmaster Lam Zhou, when we were discussing different sets of Hung Kun, he always said, I asked him, okay, Kung Ji Fuk Fuke, taming of the tiger in Kung pattern, Hung Kun set. And he said, no, that's Siu Lam. This is Shaolin Kung Fu, right? So I said, okay, Fu Ok Seong Yin Kun, tiger crane double fist. And he said, oh, that's Jab Ga, which means mixed martial art, basically. They are parts of Hung Kun, Hap Kun, Choi Ga, and other styles as well. Then I said, okay, Ng Han Kun, 5 animals, 5 elements. That Jab Ga, that's mixed again, because the 5 element section comes from Hap Kun, right? Then I asked him about Teaching Kun, the iron thread set, and he said, oh, that's Siu Lam. So either Siu Lam, which goes really back in time, like really old traditional Kung Fu. And then we have Jab Ga sets, which means basically mixed martial arts, which is our Hu Hok, tiger crane, and our Sap Hing Kun, 10 forms, aka Ng Han Kun, 5 animals, 5 elements. But today, everybody knows our style mainly as Hung Kun, thanks to the pulp fiction stories from the 1950s, 1960s, movies, of course, movies of Lau Ga Leung Sifu, and of course, thanks to the pioneers of our style in the West.
Yeah.